Hi everyone, welcome back to Lucy's Library. We have been very busy at the libraries, but today, since we're home and we finally have a cloudy day, Lucy and I decided to read one of our favorite books. It's a little bit of a mouthful, I would say, but Lucy loves this book and she is all ready to listen to Chrysanthemum. It's one of our favorite books because the illustrations are so pretty. So Lucy's ready to read. Are you? The day she was born was the happiest day in her parents' lives. She's perfect, said her mother. Absolutely, said the father. And she was. She was absolutely perfect. Her name must be everything she is, said her mother. Her name must be absolutely perfect, said her father, and it was. Chrysanthemum. Her parents named her Chrysanthemum. And Chrysanthemum grew and grew and grew, and when she was old enough to appreciate it, Chrysanthemum loved her name. She loved the way it sounded when her mother woke her up. She loved the way it sounded when her father called her for dinner. And she loved the way it sounded when she whispered it to herself in the bathroom. Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum loved the way her name looked when it was written with ink on an envelope. She loved the way it looked when it was written with icing on her birthday cake. And she loved the way it looked when she wrote it herself with fat orange crayon. Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum. I'm glad your name is just Lucy. That's a lot to say. Chrysanthemum thought her name was absolutely perfect. And then she started school. On her first day of school, Chrysanthemum wore her sunniest dress and her brightest smile. She ran all the way. Hooray, said Chrysanthemum, school! But when Miss Chudd took roll call, everyone giggled upon hearing Chrysanthemum's name. Let's see, there was Bill, and there's Kay, and there's Max, and Sam, and Victoria, and Joe, and Ken. So I guess that was a little bit different. It's so long, said Joe. It scarcely fits on your name tag, said Rita, pointing. I'm named after my grandmother, said Victoria. You're named after a flower. Chrysanthemum wilted. She did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She thought it was absolutely dreadful. The rest of the day was not much better. During nap time, Victoria raised her hand and informed Miss Chudd that Chrysanthemum's name was spelt with 13 letters. That's exactly half as many letters as there are in the entire alphabet, Victoria explained. Thank you for sharing with us, Victoria said. Mrs. Chudd, now you put your head down. If I had a name like yours, I'd change it, Victoria said, as the students lined up to go home. I wish I could, thought the Chrysanthemum miserably. Welcome home, said Mother. Welcome home, said Father. School's no place for me, said Chrysanthemum. My name is too long. It scarcely fits on my name tag, and I'm named after a flower. Oh, pish, said Mother. Your name is beautiful. And precious and priceless and fascinating and winsome, said her father. It's everything you are, said her mother. Absolutely perfect, said her father. Chrysanthemum felt much better after her favorite dinner, macaroni and cheese with ketchup, an evening filled with hugs and kisses, and parcheesi. That night, Chrysanthemum dreamed that her name was Jane. It was an extremely pleasant dream. The next morning, Chrysanthemum wore her most comfortable jumper. She walked to school as slowly as she could. She dragged her feet in the dirt. Chrysanthemum, 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 she wrote. She even looks like a flower, said Victoria, as Chrysanthemum entered the playground. Let's pick her, said Rita, pointing. Let's smell her, said Joe. Chrysanthemum wilted. She did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She thought it was absolutely dreadful. The next day was not much better. During nap time, Victoria raised her hand and said, "A chrysanthemum is a flower. It lives in the garden with worms and other dirty things." "Oh, thank you for sharing with us, Victoria," said Mrs. Chudd. "Now put your head down." "I cannot believe your name," Victoria said as the students lined up to go home. "Neither can I," said Chrysanthemum miserably. "Welcome home," said her mother. "Welcome home," said her father. "Oh, school's no place for me," said Chrysanthemum. "They said I even look like a flower. They pretended to pick me and smell me." "Oh, pish," said Mother. "They're just jealous and envious. And who wouldn't be with such a wonderful name like yours?" said her mother. "And it's absolutely perfect," said her father. Chrysanthemum felt much better after her favorite dessert, chocolate cake with buttercream ice cream, and another evening with hugs and kisses and porchesi. That night, Chrysanthemum dreamed that she really was a chrysanthemum. She sprouted leaves and petals. Victoria picked her and plucked the leaves and petals one by one. There was nothing left but a scrawny stem. It was the worst nightmare of Chrysanthemum's life. Oh, that looks sad. Chrysanthemum wore her outfit with 7 pockets the next morning. She loaded her pockets with her most prized possessions and her good luck charms. Chrysanthemum took the longest route possible to school, and she stood and stared at each and every flower. "Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum," the flowers seemed to say. That morning, the students were introduced to Mrs. Twinkle, the music teacher. Her voice was like something out of a dream, as was everything else about her. The students were speechless. They thought Mrs. Twinkle was an indescribable wonder. They went out of their way to make a nice impression. Mrs. Twinkle led the students in scales. Then she assigned roles to the class musical. Victoria was chosen as a dainty fairy queen. Rita was chosen as the spiffy butterfly princess. Jo was chosen as the important pixie messenger. And Chrysanthemum was chosen as a daisy. "Chrysanthemum's a daisy, chrysanthemum's a daisy," Jo, Rita, and Victoria chanted, thinking it was wildly funny. Chrysanthemum wilted. She did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She thought her name was absolutely dreadful. "What's so humorous?" asked Mrs. Twinkle. "Chrysanthemum," was the answer. "Her name is so long," said Jo. "It scarcely fits her name tag," said Rita, pointing. "I'm named after my grandmother," said Victoria. "She's named after a flower." "My name is long," said Mrs. Twinkle. "It is," said Jo. "My name would scarcely fit on a name tag," said Mrs. Twinkle. "It would," said Rita, pointing. "And," said Mrs. Twinkle, "I'm named after a flower, too." "You are?" said Victoria. "Yes," said Mrs. Twinkle. "My name is Delphinium. Delphinium Twinkle. And if I have a baby and it's a girl, I'm considering Chrysanthemum as a name. I think it's absolutely perfect." Chrysanthemum could hardly believe her ears. She blushed. She beamed. She bloomed. Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum. Jo, Rita, and Victoria looked at Chrysanthemum longingly. "Call me Marigold," said Jo. "I'm Carnation," said Rita. "My name is Lily of the Valley," said Victoria. Chrysanthemum did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She knew it. Overall, the class musical was a huge success. Chrysanthemum was absolutely perfect as a daisy. Victoria made the only mistake. She completely forgot her lines as a dainty fairy queen. Chrysanthemum thought it was wildly funny, and she giggled throughout the entire dance of the flowers. Eventually, Mrs. Twinkle gave birth to a healthy baby girl, and of course, she named her Chrysanthemum. Well, that is one of our most favorite stories, And we hope you liked it. We hope you snuggle up with one of your favorite friends and read a story. Or as some of you do when you come to the library, you sit and show the pictures to Lucy and give her sweet pets. So until we see you again, we hope you pick up a book, fetch Lucy a book, and as we always like to say, good job, Lucy. Good job. See you all soon.